Hey YouTube, this is Robert from Sherburne Outdoors. Today we'll be discussing the top 10 tips for doing an RV vacation to Yellowstone and staying specifically in West Yellowstone. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to be notified of new content. Let's get started. So me and my family took our annual RV trip that we started doing out to Yellowstone this year. We flew into Salt Lake City and drove up to West Yellowstone and stayed there. And so I thought I would give you the top 10 tips for RVing in Yellowstone and the things that we encountered and things that will make your trip a lot easier. So number one, get your campsite early. Whether it's a pandemic, post-pandemic, Yellowstone always fills up. You can book almost a year out. We booked at the Grizzly RV Park in West Yellowstone, Montana, which is right outside the west gate for Yellowstone. It was awesome. I think I booked it in October when they first opened up for the July window. And we've got an end unit on the end of a row, so we had a huge yard. Look at the pictures up in the right hand corner and you can see that. I'll leave a link in the bottom to the Grizzly RV Park. It was awesome. So one of the nicest RV parks I've ever stayed in. So that was tip number one. Tip number two, if you do not own an RV, you need to rent one. And whether you're renting it and driving it from your destination, from your place to out there, or like we did, we flew from Atlanta out to Salt Lake City and then drove up, took an Uber, grabbed the RV, and then drove up to West Yellowstone and started our day. These sites fill up and RVs are in demand, and people on these, whether it's RV Easy or Cruise America, these sites are in demand, and these RVs are in demand. And so figure out what you want to rent and then go ahead and get it rented. I rented mine in August of last year for a trip in July of this year to ensure that we've got it. But it was also the end buyer was a new RV, roughly about a year old, so I felt really confident. So that's number two. Get your RV settled in, whether you own or you're going to rent or you're going to buy. Number three, transportation. All right, this one's a big one. Get over here. We got Maggie who's helping with our co-pilot here. So transportation inside of Yellowstone's a big one. It's a huge park. We had a Class A. Unless you want to be unhooking that thing and driving it around all the time, which is not advisable. It's an old park. The roads aren't that wide. You see a lot of people doing it, but I wouldn't advise it. We actually had a secondary car. You can rent them, or in this case, my wife drove a Honda Pilot out there and had lots of room for all five of us to drive around the park. And so that's my recommendation, is have some secondary transport. Now, obviously, if you're in a fifth wheel or travel trailer, you've got your connecting vehicle and you can utilize that. But you can rent cars or other things otherwise. Otherwise, you're going to be unhooking, pulling in the slide, setting up, kind of collapsing camp every single day and then bringing it back in when you come back around. Okay, number four, food. All right, you're going to be in Yellowstone, you're going to be moving around. It's not like there's a grocery store everywhere. You're going to need lots of food. And it's also like, whether you're in Yellowstone or you're outside of Yellowstone like we were in West Yellowstone, or you're in Cody, you know, these grocery stores that are there, here's a picture of the one that's in town there, which we actually did utilize a garage. They don't have a lot of selection, and it's not really their fault. People are flowing in and out of these things all day long, and they're at the very end of the supply chain for drop-offs. What we did is we stopped at the Walmart and Costco and loaded up before we came up with everything that we need. We still had the daily trip here, but the daily trip, buying Walmart milk is $3. Buying a gallon of milk there is like $6. So plan accordingly, but I would load up on food and then just get what you need as you're moving along. The stores have a lot of stuff. It's just expensive and there's limited availability or selection. So that's food. Number five, split Yellowstone into 4 quadrants, right down the middle, and assign days to those. We did that. We were in the bottom left on the first day that we went to Old Faithful and the Grand Prismatic. The second day we went up to Norris and did all the Mammoth Falls. We went down to, the third day we went down to Yellowstone Lake and did all that stuff. And the fourth day we drove all the way out to Lamar Valley, which was an entire day of just driving out there from West Yellowstone. It was really far. So divide up your days, pick where you want to go inside of that quadrant. It'll make this a lot simpler. I read this in a book, and it worked specifically great for us when we were out and about. All right, number 6. This kind of gets back to the food from number 4, is pack your lunch. You're going to be driving around Yellowstone. There is not restaurants everywhere. You have a restaurant in the Old Faithful Lodge. There's one up in Norris. But for the most part, you're on your own. You're camping. You're in a national park. Enjoy it. Here's a great picture of a campground we used, or some picnic tables, and there are picnic tables everywhere. There's signs for them everywhere. You can get these picturesque views along rivers, along valleys, on mountaintops, wherever. So take the time, enjoy it, make a bid. We took 2 coolers of stuff out with us, full of drinks every day and then full of food. And so we made a big deal of the picnics that we had out and about, and made sure that we were always fully loaded with snacks and everything else. Because there's a lot of driving. Yellowstone's big. Even if you're remaining in the single quadrants like I talked about, it's just a lot of driving. All right, that takes us into number 7. Gas her up. Every morning when we went out and about, I gassed up the car. There is limited or no gas inside of Yellowstone, and it is a crazy amount of driving that you'll do. So it was not be uncommon for us on each of the days to go through a half a tank or 3/4 of gas, and we were in a Honda Pilot, so I mean, pretty good gas mileage is V6. But for the most part, I mean, we would go through a lot of gas driving around. You're going fast, you're going slow, you're climbing. It was super hot. So gas up your car every morning, and you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. Even if you just need to top it off, top it off. All right, number 8. This is what the lines look like at Yellowstone at the main parks, especially during the first week of July when we were there. It's long. The lines go all the way into West Yellowstone. They move pretty quick, and once you get in Yellowstone, obviously it's big. People move around, and so everything kind of weeds out as you're moving along. But depending on how you want to do it, we recommend either leaving early and getting your day started super early. It's open 24 hours a day. You want to be there when the sun comes up, enjoy. You want to be there early and be out at Lamar Valley when the sun comes up, have at it. You can do that. Or you can leave at regular times, which a lot of people do. 9:30, 10 o'clock. You're going to have some long lines. You can spend the day. One thing we found is we did that, and then we get back about 3 or 4. We'd eat some dinner. And then the things that we wanted to see, and the great example of this was the Grand Prismatic. The lines to get into that thing, whether we were doing walking around it or going to the overlook, was crazy. So we came back about 6:30 at night after we had some dinner. It was about a 30-minute drive from West Yellowstone. Got down there, and you know what? Parked at the very first spot. There was no one around. There was people there, but people were coming and going, and it wasn't as crazy as it was when we were there earlier. We were able to get much better pictures. We were able to hike to the overlook and look down. So you can do twice. You can go to the spots that are high volume a little later in the day. People are doing other things later in the day versus walking around. All right, number 9, plan for the weather. It is crazy out there. One day it'll be 90, the next day it'll be raining and 55 in July. So just be accordingly. And we're from the south. We're used to tons of humidity at night. It gets cool there at night. It gets down to I think here's about 44 one of the nights that we were there. So just plan accordingly. You're going to need shorts, you're going to need t-shirts. We took some fleeces and some long sleeve shirts as well. Not so much on the jeans. We did bring it, but nobody really used it. All right, and probably the most important piece on the last one is be patient. You're going to have lines like this. If a buffalo comes around the road, everyone's going to stop and look at the thing, which is going to back up traffic. You're on vacation. You're in a national park. You're in the world's best national park, actually. So just be patient. Take it in. If there's a buffalo crossing, look at it. Don't honk at everybody else. Just get through it. Enjoy it. Go to that great picnic lunch. Spend the day out there. Take tons of pictures and just enjoy it. So those are my top 10 things that I would recommend for having a successful RV vacation in Yellowstone when staying in West Yellowstone, which is where we were at. Hey, thanks for your time. If you love this content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and click the bell to be notified when new content comes out. Everybody have a great day, and thanks again for your time.